Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Aneem Awe. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a lot of other things, but for the purpose of today's video, we are going to talk all things social work. In fact, I'm going to do a Q&A about social work because I've gotten so many questions about social work after you all, which I'm very grateful, have seen some of my videos, and I want to go over some of the top 5 or 6 questions that I've received under my videos, just to like clarify and kind of have a conversation in one centralized place for all of us. So without further ado, let's get into it. And if you aren't already, make sure you are subscribed, right? And let's get into it. So the first question, a very popular question, like I've gotten this question several times, is that what if I don't have a social work background? Many folks, give you some context behind this, many folks have reached out to me and just like, hey, can I still pursue a master's in social work even if I don't have a background in social work, right? Which they don't have a bachelor's in social work, and so they're questioning or wondering, right, can they still go down this path? And so to that I say absolutely yes. Now, if you aren't familiar with my story, I too did not have a background in social work. In fact, my background was in public health. I got a bachelor's in science and public health sciences, and I thought for the longest time I was going to go the MPH route and get my MPH and go on to do public health work, right? And so that didn't work out that way. And honestly, if I'm being transparent, it's because I had an advisor that I was working with, and she's just like, hey, if you want to have endless job opportunities, go get your MSW. And this is not to say that you can't get opportunities with your MPH or there are no jobs out there, but as a social worker, there are just so many things and spaces and areas that we can work in, and there's just always job opportunities out there. And I was just like, you know what, you're right. And at the time I was working at the VA, I was working in one department but volunteering for the social work department, and I seen how many vast opportunities there were. And for a lot of people, when they hear the VA, government jobs, that like it's an instant grab for them. And so I ended up going from my bachelor's to my master's in MSW, for the MSW rather, and I had no background in social work whatsoever. So you can absolutely go get the MSW despite whatever degree. You can have a degree in English, you can have a degree in Spanish, you can have a degree in public health like I did, you can have a degree in psychology, whatever it is, you can still go ahead and pursue your master's in social work. The difference, I guess you would say, is that oftentimes if you have a BSW, my understanding is that that sets you up to be in an advanced standing program or apply for an advanced standing program where you'll finish your master's degree in like 1 year or 9 months, depending on the program. So that's an incentive. That's really cool. It can save a lot of money potentially and save a lot of time, which time is money in my book. And so if you have that BSW, you should go get that MSW. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to, but I think you should. So definitely, yes. Another question that I saw that I see a lot is what type of jobs can social workers do? So I want to preface by saying that when I refer to social work here, I'm talking about an individual who has at least a master's degree. Now, whether they're licensed or not is another story, but you have at least a master's degree. So I'm talking to that population, that subset. And in some states, there is what is known as title protection, where that is the case, right? And so, again, I can't, that's how I'm conceptualizing social work here for the purpose of this video, because that's the only aspect that I can speak to. Again, I can't speak from a bachelor's level social work because I've never had that degree. I've never worked at that level, so I don't know what that looks like. But job opportunities, there's so many. Really, truly. Like I mentioned, the VA. The VA is a big employer for a lot of social workers. Honestly, any government level, whether it's state, federal, or city, there are job opportunities. State-wise, obviously, you have your child protection services agencies, depending on what region of the country you're in, that looks differently. You have your adult population, geriatric population. All states typically have some sort of support or some sort of organization that's designated to support these individuals because they're marginalized communities, right? They're vulnerable communities, I should say. And so there's all those jobs. And it doesn't just have to look like being a CPS worker, right? Being a case worker, so to say. It can be case management. It can be leadership and management. It could be training and development. It could be mediation. It could be all these type of things as far as like the government goes. Also, there's medical social work, which again can get divided into medical social work, psychiatric social work, and case management, those can be very lucrative. I've had a whole video about that for those who are transitioning or looking to transition into medical social work. It can give a lot of flexibility, a lot of great benefits, as well as the government as well. But medical hospital social work I tend to like because it can open more doors, especially as it relates to like traveling social work, which is another great opportunity. But you do have to have experience. You need to have at least 2 years of acute experience before going into travel social work, especially if it's like a medical social work assignment or a case management assignment. Most recruiters are asking for at least 2 years of experience, and it makes sense because you need to hit the ground running. Nobody's trying to train you for 2, 3, 4 weeks. They're going to give you like 2, 3 days of training, and you're expected to take off. So travel social work is very lucrative. I've talked about my experience. If you want to learn more, you can check out this video about travel social work where I tell you how much I've made, all that good stuff. Obviously there's private practice as well, especially if you're going down the route of clinical licensure. That's a great opportunity, to kind of work with an ideal client base. There's community health, of course. There's macro social work, right? We don't often shed a lot of light on that. And that's some of the work that I do as well, whether it's through consulting, whether it's through facilitation and kind of workshopping. It could also look like being a program manager, project manager, which I'm a certified Scrum Master, which is adjacent to project management, but I won't go into that. If you have questions, let me know below. But there's just so many macro aspects as well as policy work. Again, government work from the angle of like policy development, advocacy, that type of work is really important, and very, very much a very big part of social work. So again, there's just so many opportunities with social work. And the other caveat that I want to add to this, when I speak on social work, I speak on social work as it relates to the United States of America. I can't speak on any other country because I often get that question. Oh, I'm in, the UK, I'm in Canada, I'm in this place, that place. I don't know what's going on in those other places. I can only speak on the United States of America. That's where I'm at. That's where my experience is. That's where my training has been. Which then kind of leads me to another point around, do I need to be licensed? Now, while I always encourage folks to go down the licensure path, I know it's hard. I know it can be expensive. I know it can be frustrating. I know it can be overwhelming. I do recommend it because it can open so many more doors for you. As a licensed practitioner, you have you answer to nobody, which I totally enjoy. I hate answering to people. I don't like people telling me what to do. So hence my personality. I'm a Sagittarius. Not to go too much into that, but I really enjoy the flexibility and the independence and the autonomy that comes with running my own practice. So I'll just say that you do not have to be licensed. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what are your goals? What's your end goal, right? What do you see yourself? What do you envision yourself doing? Now, a lot of people say, well, I want to go macro. Like, I don't necessarily need your license. You don't, but it can help inform your macro work. At the very end of the day, your clinical work will inform whatever type of work you do, whether you go macro, clinical, or whatever scale level that you are on. That clinical work will inform you and can enhance your skills. Because you are an expert at that point, right? You've reached the top designation in your field. Whether that's LCSW, LICSW, or whatever your state recognizes it as, you've reached that top level. And so for me, why wouldn't I want to hit that top level in my field, right? Why would I work this hard or come this far to then just say, I'm going to stay at this certain level? No, I want the top thing or the top licensure or the top designation or the top sort of identifier, if you will, in my field to establish my credibility. And credibility and brand, establishing yourself as a brand, if that's important to you, which I think should be important to you, regardless of what you want to do, you are your brand. You are the representation of yourself. If you want to be able to attract more opportunities, if you want to be able to sort of be seen as the key expert in whatever it is, I do think it can help you in that aspect. And so, again, I would encourage folks to kind of ask themselves to work backwards, right? Where do you see yourself maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years from down the line, right? And what do you need to get situated or get into that place? And so that is what I will leave you with. I know it's controversial. And again, I know it's expensive. I know it's time consuming because I've been there. I've done that. I failed my exam twice and finally passed on the third time. And so I understand all aspects of this conversation, but I do encourage social workers to pursue that licensure because it can be very substantial in helping boost your career or situate yourself as an expert in this work. And then let's see here. What I got another question, kind of, this was a comment rather that I got on Instagram, which is like, I didn't know social workers were clinical clinicians. And I'm just like, well, yeah, we can be, because as I mentioned before, if once you obtain the top clinical licensure, you are in fact a mental health expert. You are in fact a licensed independent clinician. You are in fact the go-to expert as it relates to mental health. Now, are there other, folks within this space? Yes, we share it with counselors, we share with marriage family therapists, we share with psychologists. Although I'm not a doctorate, I don't hold a doctorate level in social work, but unfortunately there is like there in the medical field, or the adjacent rather, there is a hierarchy, I'll say that, right? And so social workers are definitely up there as mental health experts in this field, and so don't disregard that. Don't allow anybody to disregard that, and don't let anybody play with you and your title around that. So those were the top questions that I've gotten as it relates to social work. Some of the other ones I always get is about money, and that's why I've been really transparent about the money and things that I'm earning, and sharing my experience through social work pay transparency. I've gotten a lot of people say, well, that's not always the case. It's not, and that I've been able to get to this place because, one, I've situated myself as being the expert. I have lots of experience. I use, I've taken advantage of lots of opportunities that this field has presented me and given me the option to do, and have continuously tried to invest in myself and my skills to be able to charge the prices that I charge. So I share it because I want people to know that it is possible. It is something that you can do too, with the specialized training and that clinical license, as I've mentioned before, that you too could also charge that or more if you decided that's what you wanted to do. So those are the questions that I've gotten. If you feel like there were any questions that I missed, please let me know below. Leave it down below. Ask me any questions below. And well, let's continue having this conversation. I want to continue to be transparent about the social work journey and how to have a career that you love within social work. Because if you're anything like me, you heard these sort of statements that like, why are you going down there? They don't make any money. They just stressed out. They just take kids away. And that has not been my experience at all. I've never worked in the child protection capacity at all. I've worked alongside them. I've worked with cases on them, but like not in that official capacity. And I'm so grateful in the space that I'm in right now. And I want to help other social workers, decrease burnout and really thrive in their field and thrive in the work that they're doing. So let me know if you have any questions below. Make sure you share this with a social worker that you might know in your life that might be struggling or might be at a turning point and need some inspiration and support. All right. Take care.